Okay.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Crew DC's Unlocking Opportunities at Crew Network Convention. This webinar is to offer tips and tricks about Crew Network Convention, and how to make the most of it. As we get started, or before we get started, I just wanted to dive in a little and introduce the people who are going to be speaking today. So if we want to go to the next slide, or not, yeah, that's cool. Uh, so Victoria Abbasi, Vice President of Colliers, Tony Beverly, Vice President Regional Property Manager at BXB, formerly Boston Properties. Myself, again, Miriam Brody, Vice President, Senior Associate at Kinley Horn. Hopefully Susan Piles will be joining us today. She's a Managing Director at Tycoon Property Partners, and Rachel Shipton, Managing Director, Energy and Sustainability Services at Fishman and Wakefield, and they'll introduce themselves a little bit more as they get started. Next slide. So our agenda. These are the things we're going to be going through. I'm going to concentrate a little bit on the history of Crew and Crew Network and the benefits of being a member of our organizations. So what is convention and why should you consider attending? I actually did not know what convention was when I first joined Crew. We didn't really talk about it. I was first a member of another chapter. It felt like something that only people on the board went to. And it's so much more. I'm so grateful that my first convention was for New York. I figured it was close enough to home. I would check it out. It really did change my perspective and my knowledge of what Crew had to offer. This year, obviously, convention is not so close to home, but it's going to be a wonderful opportunity to meet with other like-minded individuals, to network, to get professional development, which is still my favorite part of convention, even though I have a almost 30-year career in commercial real estate. You're never too old for good old professional development. It will be in Vancouver. It will be September 25th through the 27th. If you're interested in the Leadership Summit, it's tagged on to the front end of convention. That's always a good opportunity. There's always amazing tours and excursions to go on at conventions. So take a look when that comes out. You may want to show up early and do something exciting and fascinating with 1,300 of your new best friends. That's usually about the attendance. We might expect more just because of the location this year. I think we had 1,400 last year, so to be determined. There's 3 different hotel options this year. It will be held at the convention center, so price points for everybody. If we want to go to the next slide, I want to talk a little bit just about Crew Network. It is a global organization, and so as one of the reasons why we'll be in Vancouver, Canada was the first international chapters that we had in our Crew Network, and now we have expanded to multiple countries, and we are now a global organization and not a nationwide organization. And I think that just brings another level of diversity and inclusion and different thoughts than what we might have if we stayed national. Fun fact, Crew DC is 45 years old, and we actually were formed before Crew Network. There was a couple different like-minded chapters with different names, both on the East Coast and West Coast. One was called Women in Commercial Real Estate, and the other was called the National Network of Commercial Real Estate Women. And those 2 organizations came together to form what today we know as Crew Network. It is the premier organization dedicated to transforming all women in commercial real estate. You can see some fun facts on this slide about how many members we have. Again, in my unique position, why I love Crew DC and I get lots of opportunities, going to network and getting involved and being a part of different committees has opened the door for me to work with Crew women across the country and in Canada, which just has really been amazing. So even if you think, well, I'm only local, I only focus on this part of the world, there are people coming into our part of the world and you'll get to know them and maybe get to work with them when they do their new projects here. So it's definitely for all of us. And I'm really excited for convention and I hope to see you there. Next slide.
So next, we're going to talk about the value and benefits of attending Crew Convention. Next slide. So networking. So for me, what I'm looking forward to most convention, this is going to be my 7th convention. As Miriam mentioned, I started out in my position kind of very local. I didn't really understand if there was any value for me for attending convention until I was able to attend my first one back in 2017. And as Miriam said, there is just so many individuals that are there looking to network, looking to just see the other chapters, learn from each other. So whether your business is here local in DC or you are somewhere national, there's so much value into all of the members that attend these events. Next slide. So some networking tips. So if this is your first convention or you've been to a few, it's always good to kind of remind yourself of just gearing up for convention because can be very overwhelming with just the amount of individuals that show up. So the first thing that I personally like to do is a week, 2 weeks prior to when convention starts, I download the attendee list and I just kind of go through and get an idea of who's showing up. And then I start doing personal outreaches. It's a good idea to start doing it a little early because everyone starts kind of booking their sessions they want to attend or events or coffees. But this is absolutely the opportunity where everyone is in one city. And so highly recommend just taking a spin through the list and finding other people, whether it's your own company from other offices, people with similar roles, or just individuals that you've heard of and want to get a chance to learn from. Everyone is super welcoming, and whether it's a super quick just chat in the hall or a coffee, this is absolutely the time to utilize the power of Crew. Business cards. So Marketplace, which we'll get into a little bit later, is really the first kind of kickoff event. So just make sure that you bring your business cards, as each booth usually has a raffle. I believe last year that people have started using QR codes for LinkedIn. So just making sure that you have that ready to go. But also making sure that your own profiles are up to date on Crew Biz, LinkedIn, as that's really becoming the main kind of point of contact as you meet all of these individuals. So taking the initiative to acquaint yourself with members. So as you're attending events, sit with new people, talk to new individuals, change tables when you're going into the general sessions, and just try to expand as much as possible. Again, everyone is here for the same reason, that we want to help each other, bring each other business, learn from each other, and this is what we're all here for. There's also some great networking events outside of just sessions and general sessions. So there's morning networking events such as the runs, yoga. It's a great way to see the city, but also meet with smaller groups of individuals. And book time in your schedule to just update your contacts, send a note to individuals that you meet, just so you can keep that connection after the convention. So attendees and speaker schedule. So as Miriam alluded to earlier, typically we see over 1,300 attendees at convention. We have a large showing for CNCC, which is Crew DC, Crew Northern Virginia, and Crew Suburban Maryland. So we usually have a great turnout of just our sister chapters that attend this event.
And Baltimore.
And Baltimore. We keep expanding. And high profile speakers, it's always a big draw. I don't believe we have the release of our speakers this year, but previous years have included Diane Keaton, Sarah Thomas, and Lisa Ling. These are big draws. It's usually on the last kind of closing session on Friday where we get to hear from these speakers, but it's a big draw and a great event. And schedule professional development. Again, this is why we're all here. It's a great way to network, get out of your bubble, talk to other individuals, and just gain all that you can from meeting all of these great women. We typically always have the Global Economic Outlook keynote, which is also a big draw, and learning excursions. So outside of your regular registration, there is opportunities to sign up for learning excursions that are host city plans. And so it's a great way to get out, see the city, again, kind of smaller networking groups where you can just be with a group for a full day and get to really know those individuals. So if that's something that excites you, especially given our location this year, Vancouver, I'm sure they're going to have some great excursions for us. So session types. So as I was kind of getting into earlier, so we have set registration or set events that come with your registration, and then there are separate registration fees for anything additional. So with your general registration, you have access to the Net Walk, Net Run yoga events in the morning, the mega session, which is the first day, general session, all the various breakout sessions, your conversation corners, and just networking. Outside of that, we have dine arounds. So as Crew DC has done dine arounds, Vancouver will have that as well. So again, our host city will select kind of the restaurants. They'll have sign up sheets once you get to convention. And that is another great way to be in a smaller group and network with individuals. The learning excursion, as I mentioned, there will be a few each day that you can sign up for. Those are off-site, so plan your schedule accordingly. If there's sessions you want to see, sometimes the excursions will overlap. So just make sure you can kind of keep track of your schedule and make sure that you attend everything that you want to. And then one of our biggest events, which is the Crew Network Foundation fundraiser, always a great event. I personally have not attended, but I know a few on this call who have, and it's always been a fantastic event. And so as we mentioned earlier, we usually have about 80 of our CNCC chapters that attend this event. This is an example from last year. So we had a great turnout, all from all of our chapters. This is just from our chapter in DC, but usually a great turnout event for all of us. And this is the example from last year of some of our speakers that we had. So that Global Economic Outlook, the general sessions, these are some of the speakers that we had, and we expect to have the same caliber this year in Vancouver.
Great. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to prepare and make your business case so that you can attend convention. I think as Miriam had mentioned previously, I think this is probably Vancouver will be my 6th convention. My first convention was Houston, and I actually went by myself. I didn't realize how many people were going to be attending, and honestly didn't realize how many people from the chapter was going to be attending. So that was a great opportunity. It was a wake-up call to see how many people attended convention, but I had such a great time, met so many people that I've attended every year since. So I don't have a slide, but I'm just going to kind of walk through some points that worked for me and my team in making business cases. I think this year will be a little bit more special just because it's in Vancouver and maybe just a little bit more costly. And a lot of rep firms are being very cost conscious. So just a few tips. So what I would recommend is go through the schedule of events when that is posted on the website as you're looking at registration. Go through the sessions and highlight the sessions or events that are of interest to you. What pertains to your current industry and your role, and look where you would hope to get some additional information. So an example that worked for me in previous years is we were starting the process of developing and going into the life sciences sector. That was new for me in our market, in our DC region. And so I attended several sessions that talked about life sciences. That was all new to me. Another session that I looked at was emergency preparedness and security and how it relates to the different regions. And that was of most importance to me because I oversee security in our DC region for our properties. And so I was interested in attending the session, not only to hear what the speakers were going to talk about, but also networking with other peers and finding out how they handle certain situations when it related to emergency preparedness or security. Sustainability is a big one. I looked for different sessions that spoke specifically to sustainability, whether it was LEED or maybe EV charging stations. So go through and start making a list of the different sessions. So as you prepare your business case, you can incorporate that into your business case. Then tailor your schedule and what is a value add of your attendance. So how does the conference or the sessions relate directly to your position and your industry? Look at possibly networking with new peers on who will face similar situations and challenges and possibly lessons learned, and incorporate that into your business case. So as Victoria mentioned a couple of weeks before, you can kind of download and see who's going to be attending. But as you're making the business case for registration, you can kind of see in years past in speaking to others and networking who attended. And that can help you kind of formulate your case on who you hope to meet and who you hope to network with. Another thing that's also worked for others is consider asking maybe a mentor. If you're in a mentorship program, consider asking a mentor or someone from the crew board or the crew committee member to provide a letter supporting your attendance on why it's important, why they think it would be a value add for you to attend the session, the convention. And then another thing is start to think about when you attend these different sessions, what will you learn from those sessions and possibly come back and present to your teams and your peers. And so, because not everyone on your team can attend, not everyone in your company can attend. And so this is the value that you bring back for your company. You're going to go on behalf of BXP. I'm going to attend all these sessions. I'm going to take great notes. I'm going to network. I'm going to find out how our peers in other regions and other companies do things. And I'm going to bring that back to my region, to my team, and present to them. And then finally, what has worked for me is make sure that you add in your business cases that your goal is also to attend sessions to hear from industry leaders on their journey, not only in crew, but just in their company and their industry. And your goal is to obtain mentoring advice outside the company so you can get different perspectives. So I would, start your checklist, look at the schedule of events, go through and highlight which ones are of interest to you personally and professionally, and then make that case in terms of what the value add is, what you hope to learn, and what you can bring back to your company. Next slide.
Perfect. So now we're going to talk about making the most of convention. So you've heard from a lot of members here about, and you can go to the next slide, Bonnie. Perfect, thanks. About all the different crew in general, crew network, how to navigate convention, the different events, speakers, sessions, and really just, okay, let's say you got you follow Tony's advice and you're going. Now, what exactly can you do once you're there to make the most of it? So for those who will be going for their first time, there is, and you can see here, Bonnie's laid out the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So these are the days. Wednesday looks like, unless you're going to Summit, you really don't need to plan on getting here. And again, unless you're doing some of the earlier excursions till later on in the day. I know that's probably going to be beneficial just because of us going from East Coast to West Coast. With that being said, if it is your first time, they have a first time attendee orientation. I would highly advise from this, again, because you're going to know some DC folks and familiar faces, but really, and maybe if your company is more national, you'll know some through that. But this is a great way to be like, oh, I sat beside this woman. She's a first-time attendee. Now when I go to Marketplace or I go to another session, I'm going to have a buddy. I'm going to know someone who might know what room this is being held in. That being said, don't know exactly the convention center that we're going to, haven't been there before, but I would just say you're probably going to do some walking. So make sure you bring comfortable shoes. Also, like any other convention you go to, probably going to be cold. So I would say, again, most people, and you can see through the pictures we're going to show here and that have been dispersed throughout the presentation, people probably dress up a little bit more than dress down, but do whatever you feel comfortable in. And also make sure you bring something, if you don't have sleeves, to put on over, because it is probably going to be cold. They love to pump that AC. Be on time, things start on time. And then the biggest thing Victoria touched on for the first day is the marketplace and welcome reception. Again, as she mentioned, bring business cards. As someone in sustainability, I don't like to promote having, a lot of paper on you, but for this, you might want to, because they've got everything from like Louis Vuitton purses, Tiffany bracelets, etc. So drop them in your bucket and good luck. And again, we'll have the hashtags down here and we'll promote those a lot, but take photos, put them on LinkedIn, and you'll see we're going to do a little raffle off of, not a raffle, but something at the end that will require some of the hashtags. So if you can go to the next slide. And then after Marketplace, we do have dinner with your crew at convention. So this will probably be the CNCC, so DC and our local sister chapters, who we have in the past either rented out a place or done like a private room somewhere, or they've just put us somewhere and been like, okay, all of you crazy women, y'all can go hang out in here. So that's fun. You can use, it's going to be promoted on our crew events. And you can use sponsorship money, or you can pay for that as well. But as Victoria mentioned earlier, the convention itself will have dine-arounds probably the next night. But this is something, again, you get to meet with and see your local friends, colleagues, and crew buddies. So it usually happens right after Marketplace. Usually, again, and I'm saying all this from the past, things may change because we don't have anything locked in at the moment. Usually within walking distance of where convention's being held. And there is a cap, so when it does go out, make sure if this is something that you really enjoy or want to be a part of, you sign up early. Okay, next slide. Again, this is all posted on the website now. I will say we made this mistake. You can see it in different time zones. So we're not starting later on the day as much as you probably would like to be able to sleep in a little bit. You've got activities all 3 days, both Thursday and Friday morning stuff for anyone who is adventurous, wants to wake up early, do a walk or run. And I think they've done yoga in the past now. I know offline, Victoria said she is going to try and attend some. So if that interests you, get with Victoria. I will probably be sleeping through those, but can't wait to hear from others who did attend. And then the biggest thing is look ahead, as Tony said, whether it's via you're planning how to make the ask, but then just planning your day. I think Bonnie's going to mention this, but the app is very useful. That's going to give you all the different sessions. You can add them straight to your calendar. So, you know, I've got to go to this room for this, and then I'm going here. And then they have, and we'll go on to the next slide, I believe. These just talk about the days, but you'll see here throughout, I'm going to go back to the next slide real quickly. In between the different days, they have stuff called the new Crew Networking Lounge. Really use those to your advantage. If there is someone you want to meet with who maybe you've seen on Crew Biz that you might think could be a mentor, or someone in your industry, or someone that you want to make a business ask from, or whatever the case might be, you can ping them on Crew Network. You can try and find them via the app and suggest meeting up in one of these Crew Network lounges. So that's one other thing that I would advise on. Okay, next couple of slides are really just a bunch of people from CNCC and all the different crew local chapters you can see here on the stage. I'm not sure, you can go through these. I'm not sure if we have an updated picture yet, but Victoria here last year won the Crew Rising Star Award. So you have, we'll have to update this with her photo accepting that award. And you've got people here throughout. So make sure, biggest ask, take photos, share them with the Crew DC board or marketing group. So we just have these for our records as well. So we love seeing these. Perfect, thanks.
Thanks, Rachel. So I'm going to go over the what does Crew DC do to help involve you in convention? So one of the things that we are doing differently this year is because we normally have such a large amount of folks coming to convention, anywhere between 50 to 80 individuals. One of the feedback that we've heard in past years is we don't know who people are from our own chapter because we are so large, right? We're over 500 people, and then combined with our sister chapters, we're probably hovering around close to 800 to 900 people. That's a lot of people that you don't know. So what we're going to do this year is we're going to hold a pre-convention pay-as-you-go happy hour, so that way folks who are actually attending convention can get together prior and make those connections and make plans together. It is not required, obviously, but we hope that you can attend, and we will be putting out announcements as we get closer to September 12th. Location is still TBD. The other thing that the Professional Development Committee is putting on is taking your place at the table and effective networking and how to actually work the room during an event like convention. That is going to be held on August 29th. MOI is going to be hosting us at their location downtown. And again, that registration is going to be open most likely in the beginning of July. So this is not just open to convention goers. It will be open to all, but this is going to be a great segue into how do I network and how do I present myself and what are the best practices, especially for those who are new to the convention or networking in general. The next thing that I'm very excited to announce is that because of the cost of hotels and travel and so on and so forth, is that Crew DC is putting together a form stack for people who are looking to share hotel rooms for convention. So this will be coming out next week. Make sure that you keep your eye out for it in our weekly update. But essentially, it's going to be a super easy list. You'll just put your name in the form stack along with what you were looking for, whether you already have a hotel room and are looking for a roommate, or if you are a roommate looking for a hotel room. And then we won't match you up. You'll get the list individually and you'll have to make those connections yourself. But this is a great way to help, have some cost savings, with travel. And then as Victoria and Rachel had mentioned, our CNCC convention dinner, we usually do it the first night of convention after Marketplace. Those plans are still TBD, but we are hoping that it's going to be either within one of the hotels that are pre-selected through Crew Network or within walking distance of the convention center. It was briefly mentioned earlier about the Crew Network app. I highly, highly recommend downloading this and getting to know it prior to convention. This was a godsend for me because I love to be able to just look on my phone and be able to track where I need to be and kind of make those plans. And the app makes it very easy. I will mention that it does not become live until you're actually at convention. So it is a little bit difficult to kind of plan your day in advance before you get to convention. So my recommendation is take those schedules that are posted online and just highlight and make notes. And then once you are at the hotel and you have some downtime before you go to your sessions or to dinner, you can go ahead and start adding in the sessions and really planning out your day. It's a very easy, intuitive app, and it'll have all the pertinent information that you need in order to make the most out of your convention experience. Miriam, over to you.
Okay, well, really, this is time for Q&A, but again, if you have any questions, if you're watching this after the fact, feel free to reach out to myself or Bonnie or Tony or Victoria. We're happy to answer your questions. Convention can be a lot of fun, but it could be life-changing, and it could be great opportunity for learning new skills, getting new work, making lifelong friends. We highly recommend it, and we hope to see you there.